What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to go over the best stocks to watch for this week and the most important things you need to know. The SPY is back above $400, and we actually had an amazing day on Friday as a bunch of stocks blasted to the upside. Amazon was up 2.6%, Tesla up around 4%, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, Meta, and a lot more are looking good, and I think we're set for a great week. So stick with us today for the end of the video. We have some pretty decently important things to cover, but Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike. And like you said, last week was amazing. The SPY held up above $400. And on Friday, we continued to blast up with SPY hitting highs right around 407.50 up there at the top. And we do actually have some pretty big economic data points to look at this week. So we have a whole bunch of countries reporting CPI data this week. Honestly, Mike, it's so many countries, I can't believe it. We have India releasing it on Monday, Germany, Spain, and the US all on Tuesday. The UK will be releasing theirs on Wednesday, and France has theirs Thursday, with Italy and the Eurozone coming out on Friday. And as we know, the CPI data over the past few months and even over the past couple of years has been very influential. The Feds really watch this stuff. It kind of shows how much inflation has been rising. And we can see here on the economic calendar, pretty much the core inflation rate for August, or the CPI data, expected to be right around 295.53. The previous was 296.276. And then the core inflation rate month over month for August is expected at 0.3%, honestly coming in right around that same number from last month. So overall, it does show that the inflation is kind of slowing down. And I just can't wait to see if these numbers end up coming in close to the estimates or not, Mike, because it's going to have a huge impact on what Powell and the Feds do. So hopefully it shows that the inflation is at least coming down a little bit, especially since they keep raising rates at such a rapid pace like they are.
Exactly. So a lot of you guys are looking at this data and probably thinking like, why is CPI so important? When we have inflation the way it is, just any sort of inflation reading is crucial because it affects the market in a gigantic way. We need to see inflation starting to ease and actually starting to fall. Like, we need it. That's why the Feds are raising rates so rapidly. Now, what is good to see is that like the headline CPI reading month over month is expected to come in minus 0.1%. So that's good. But again, it's only minus 0.1%. And then the core inflation rate is expected to be up 0.3%. So, the thing with core inflation is that it excludes food and energy. So it's like, like inflation's starting to ease a little bit, but it would be a lot better if it was starting to ease more than what we're expected to see.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it excludes food and energy. And I really liked what Warren Buffett had to say about that, because he said, I don't know what's more core, food or energy, because it's kind of funny. They call it core inflation, although they exclude in my opinion, two of the most important data points to look at. But nonetheless, we can see that energy has still been kind of flying up. Even last week, crude oil was actually popping up on Friday, running up back up towards around, I guess, $100. I will say it, crude oil, Mike, has been kind of tumbling back over here recently, but it was interesting to see it kind of going up with the market last week. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this. And I know a lot of these uranium stocks like CCJ and UUUU were also running up towards their highs last week, with CCJ touching up around 31.30. I know we've been really keeping our eyes on these stocks, and these are in that type of, I guess you would say, inflationary sector where you might expect prices to keep going, especially with everything going on in Europe, with Russia cutting off the Nord Stream pipeline and all these crazy things. It's just been causing so many, I guess, uncertainties in the energy sector. But nonetheless, Mike, it's going to be a big week. Some of these data points are huge. And guys, even watch some of these other countries like Italy and the Eurozone reporting theirs is going to be pretty big on Friday. And I know even the UK is pretty influential. I know we had that terrible news with the Queen last week, so I'm sure UK will probably be pretty important to watch as well.
Yep. So Tom, what else do we have going on for this week?
Yeah, so we do still actually have some more economic data points coming out on Thursday. Looks like we're going to actually have retail sales month over month for August coming out, which is going to be very important. That will kind of show how consumers are still spending right now, and hopefully the retailers continue to do well. What I am happy about with the retail sales, Mike, is that Kroger actually reported really good earnings last week. So I thought that was pretty good. You can go look at KR's stock here on the daily, and that was a huge move on Friday. And if we go into a 5-minute chart, you can really see how big that gap is starting to look at on the chart, and it's moving up above $50. So keep these retailer stocks on your radar. Like I said, on the daily, they're starting to turn back up in a pretty good way. Like even Walmart, Target, and stocks like that were killing it last week. And I know a few people in the Discord were capitalizing off those moves.
There we go. So I just want to backtrack for 1 second so everyone's clear, Tom. I know we talked a lot about inflation. So for inflation for this week, it comes out Tuesday, and that comes out 1 hour before open, correct?
Yeah, Tuesday, 1 hour before market open at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then we're going to have the PPI data on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. But yes, it will be kicking off Tuesday morning.
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure. So on to the rest of the video. What else do we need to know about?
Yeah, so Friday at the bottom down here, we have Michigan's consumer sentiment preliminary numbers for September coming out. I know that's going to be pretty big as well. Consumer sentiment numbers are always very important, and we will talk about this a little bit more as we get closer to Friday, but that will come out at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. So keep that on your radar. But other than that, Mike, there isn't really too much else going on here in the news. Obviously from last week, the big thing is just that the market keeps flying back up, and we do have a lot of these retailers, like I said, doing quite well, like KR, Target, Walmart, and stocks like that. And it is interesting to see like where these companies are starting to spend their money in kind of like a slowing economy. So I kind of wanted to talk about this because a lot of people, like it says here, businesses are going to cut back. They're going to slow hiring, maybe lay off some workers, slash marketing, or even slow the pace of technology investment, delaying projects until after business is picked up again. So pretty much they're saying that there's been a whole bunch of changes going on with some of these bigger companies like Walmart, Amazon, Lowe's, Best Buy, Gap. They've obviously been changing the way that they invest money and trying to obviously work their balance sheets right now. I know that this has been very important for a few companies, like we talked about. Kroger ended up doing pretty well, but I just can't wait to see because they're going to be changing up a whole lot of stuff, changing up investments and trying to pretty much, like it says here, improve in-store operations so that shelves get restocked quicker and fewer sales are lost. And obviously we're getting into that holiday season, Mike, where these retailers are going to be very important, like Walmart and Target, and even Amazon coming up with Black Friday is going to be pretty big over the next couple months.
True that. And I know like some of these retailers, especially Walmart, has been investing heavily into just like their online presence and their online, I guess you could say, services and just capabilities. And they actually had some pretty interesting news a couple years ago with their collaboration with VizPick, where they can kind of use augmented reality to just make their business more efficient. We could see an example here. So that's cool. But, you know, the main point to keep in mind is that especially like Walmart and a couple other of these big retailers, they've been investing very heavily into technology over the past couple of years, and it looks like right now we might just see like a tiny bit of that start to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. And like they said here, the pandemic changed a lot in the retail environment, so that's part of the reason why they've had to change their investments around and stuff like that. So it's going to be a pretty big, I guess, holiday season for these companies, Mike. Hopefully some of these investments end up paying off for them. And, you know, looking at their charts, like Target on the chart still is pretty close to lows, Mike. Like we still have a huge gap up to around 210 on the chart. Looking at Walmart, they're a little bit closer to their highs, but still, even they're down quite a bit from that high back in April. So we obviously still have a long way to go with some of these companies. And I will say though, Mike, it looks like Walmart's been pretty bullish here over the past couple months, and it's still kind of pointing back up. So I'll still be keeping these guys on the radar for this week. I think it will be a good sector to look at. Possibly till the end of the year with everything going on with the holidays. So I think it's a pretty important thing, Mike. And as we know, Walmart and Target and these retailers, they control a lot of the U.S. economy. I'm not saying that they obviously make or break it, but obviously so many people use these companies, and these companies are huge in almost everybody's day-to-day lives.
I'm pretty sure Walmart has like brings in the most amount of sales every single year. That doesn't mean profit, but just in terms of like just like total gross sales, I believe Walmart tops the list, which is just, you know, it shows you how much of a powerhouse they are in that sense.
Yeah, it really does. And, you know, talking about stocks that have been powerhouses lately, Mike. I will say last week we actually had a lot of the growth stocks continuing to power up. Like, look at some of these charts over the past 5 days. Look at Roblox. They have been rocketing pretty much straight to the upside, like back to back 8% days here, up 8.7% on Friday. We even have some of the other growth stocks like Peloton, Neo, Fastly, even some of these like casino stocks like CZR were having amazing weeks last week. So across the boards, the stocks movement has been really good over the past couple weeks, Mike, and I've been really liking the way that some of these have been rising back up. Like even Meta, some of the bigger tech plays have been coming back. AMD, Nvidia, it's been a really nice past couple of weeks. So take advantage of this uptrend, guys. It's really nice to finally see some green coming back in because, Mike, as we can see on this daily chart with Nvidia, it has been brutal for the past 6 to 7 months. Honestly, almost for the whole past year, it's been brutal. So it's really nice to finally see some green coming back. I don't think that we're necessarily in the clear yet, but it is really nice to see some positivity coming back into the market.
Love to see it. So Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Shopify to the upside.
Yeah, Shopify, really nice move with these growth plays. Go ahead and make them break above, I would say $35 even.
All right, there we go. With the next one, we have Meta, also to the upside.
Meta, love this one. Go ahead and make them break above 169.50.
And with the last one, we have Netflix, but to the downside.
Yeah, poor Netflix here. Go ahead and make them break down below 232.
All right, so we are watching Netflix for a play to the downside, only if they break below the level Tom listed. And then we were watching Meta and Shopify for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. Before we move on, we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, and that is Chris E. on YouTube. Thank you so much for being so, I guess you could say, consistent with the comments, and you've been commenting for years now, so you definitely deserve a shout out. Thanks for being a great member of Stocked Up. So huge shout out to Chris E. But Tom, looking at the market for this week, I'm pretty excited. We had a pretty nice end on Friday. A lot of different assets are popping up. It's not like we're just seeing one specific group of stocks pop up. We have the banks starting to pop back up now. The growth stocks are flying up. Some of these market moving stocks like Apple and Amazon and stuff like that are moving back up. We're even seeing some of these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin starting to rebound. So I'm excited for the week, and I think we're going to have a lot of great opportunities.
Yeah, me too, especially coming off of last week where a lot of stocks were blasting up. It's looking like we have a lot of good momentum too. So hopefully it keeps up. And honestly, Mike, one sector that I've been watching a little bit lately that I think has been a little bit under the radar is the China sector, like BABA, XPEV, Neo, stocks like that started kind of blasting up on Friday. They're not as explosive as other sectors in the market right now, but I will say like Neo had a really nice end of the week, up 8%. And some of these stocks, like I said, like Neo, XPEV, BABA, stocks like that, I feel like could be pretty good to watch this week too. So don't forget about the China plays. Personally, they're not my favorite for the longer term, but I will say I do like the shorter term price action on them. Obviously, China's a pretty hard country to buy, especially when they're talking about all this stuff with Taiwan and all that. But nonetheless, it usually does pretty well, especially if we continue to see stocks moving like they were on Friday. I would expect some pretty big moves. And when I look at like BABA on the daily chart, Mike, they are just so low that I think that they're just due for a pop-up. So I'll really be watching these sectors for a possible move back, kind of like what we've been seeing out of AMD, Nvidia, and stocks like that recently, how they've been coming back. I think China could possibly follow along with some of that.
Good stuff. And then the last thing, Tom, I know it's not a big earnings week, but we have to cover it either way. So we could see the earnings list is very small, but we do have Oracle on Monday after close, and we have Adobe on Thursday after close. Besides that, it's just a couple small cap stocks and nothing too crazy. But here's the earnings for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Do not forget to subscribe if you're new, and make sure to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Join the Stocked Up Discord. It is completely free, and you can network with a bunch of other great people and traders. Besides that, let's have an amazing week.